Serial Killers and Subculture, presented by Tammy Opie. My case study attempted to link serial killers to subculture through deviant leisure. The serial killer. The serial killer is defined as a person who murders multiple people, usually 3 or more, at separate times in different places over a period of days, months, or years. Social deviance, deviant leisure, and subculture. Social deviance is explained as acts or people that deviate from social norms, and Smith describes deviant leisure as a result of the natural desire to seek thrills, pleasure, and excitement through means that are not socially accepted. Subculture is a group of people that share the same beliefs culturally, religiously, or socially. Normal subculture is football teams and fans, hippies, whilst deviant subculture includes groups that reject societal norms to achieve goals that are deviant within society, i.e. murderers, gangs, and pedophiles. I will also now present some male and female serial killers for you. Female serial killers. The first to mention is Countess Elizabeth Bathory, named the Blood Countess. In the 15th century, she owned over 10 castles and ruled over lands, and was known as the first ever female serial killer, and was responsible for killing over 600 women and girls so that she could bathe in their blood to retain her youth. Miss Bathory thought that she was a vampire. There are novels and documentaries and even reports that the story Dracula was inspired by the Countess's acts. Next to mention is Aileen Wuornos, the Damsel of Death, convicted of killing 7 men and sentenced to 6 death sentences, and was executed in 2002 by lethal injections. She has books, a movie, and even a song dedicated to her. Aileen was abused as a child and hitchhiked and prostituted along the highways of Florida. Her victims were her clients. She killed for a hatred towards men due to abuse when she was younger. Some male serial killers worth mentioning. So the notorious Ted Bundy, dubbed the campus killer, and is one of the most celebritized killers in US public culture. He was convicted of raping and murdering young women and girls across 7 states of the USA in the 1970s. He originally confessed to 28 murders, but it is believed there could be more victims. He was sentenced to death in 1979 and executed by electric chair in 1989. Ted Bundy is what they call the stuff of true crime books, movies, and fan culture. He created a fan base while in custody, represented himself at his trials, and even married whilst incarcerated. He was likened to the boy next door and one of the first serial killers that the media capitalized on, and what we would call the celebrity criminal. Gary Ridgway, the Green River Killer, was convicted of 48 murders between the 80s and 90s in Seattle, Washington, and sentenced to 48 life sentences. 480 years in solitary confinement. His victims were aged from 15 to 26 and were either prostitutes or runaways. He was arrested in November 2001 and later confessed to over 71 murders. There are books and film on the Green River Killer, and even one that connects Ted Bundy to the Green River Killer. The final male serial killer to put forward would have to be Ivan Milat, Australia's most notorious serial killer. Dubbed the Backpacker Murderer, he was convicted of 7 murders between 1989 to 1993 in the Bangalore State Forest, New South Wales, Australia. He died in prison in 2019, taking many secrets with him to the grave. His great-nephew Matthew Milat was also convicted of murder in the same forest many years later. The Milats were a notorious family in Australia, and the stories of these events have been captured in the Wolf Creek movies and TV series. These were low-budget films, but they made over $20 million. Serial killers and subculture. Well, serial killers are known to commit crimes for sexual gratification, to seek thrills, and for leisure. and hence this is deviant leisure, and a subculture of their own are serial killers due to the depravity of their crimes. Although serial killers wouldn't be so popular if it wasn't for the mass media and media's social construct of crime. The media keeps reporting on serial killers, which has created a genre for mass media by recognizing and capitalizing on humans' innate need to understand the dark and unknown. Here is an example of what I would call the celebrity criminal. This is a book and a movie about Ted Bundy that also the movie relates to Ted Bundy and the Green River Killer. So the celebrity criminal is described as the boy next door and can easily be capitalized on. The monster criminal. So in this case, Elizabeth Bathory, she is my example, due to the fact that a monster criminal is usually referred to as a mythological creature, ugly and hideous. Because Elizabeth Bathory thought she herself was a vampire, I would consider her as a monster criminal. I chose serial killers as my case study because I thought this was a subculture worth defining and that it is socially constructed, made by those empowered to define, label and stigmatize groups. The theories that I discussed were labeling theory, strain theory and social control theory, which are all relative to this subject. It relates also to convict criminology and can incorporate feminist criminology for women serial killers. There is a lot of academic research on the serial killer and why they do crime, and how media heightens the discourse of serial killers to capitalize the dark side of humans. This subculture is a social construct and created by mass media and mass media's influence on society. Thank you for joining me today.